34 and a half years ago when we got married, and it seems like yesterday. But I tell you what, it's such a joy marrying your best friend and becoming partners for life and for ministry and raising up children and serving the Lord, and there's not a better life.
They've raised you, Abby, to love Jesus, and it's so evident in your life. And I'm just thrilled for you and John David and your future and how the Lord's going to use you all to bring many to the Lord Jesus Christ.
Hey everyone, it's Katie from Without a Crystal Ball. Welcome back to my channel. It's Monday, July 18th. I hope you're having a wonderful day. I'm just finally getting back into the swing of things. You know, it's been a tough few weeks. Everything in my yard is finally almost done. The landscapers are just putting down the seed today and the mulch. So hopefully we're gonna have like our yards back, my life back. I feel like my entire month of July has been spent with like pounding noises as the patio goes in, but everything's almost done. We're at the end stretch. So I hope you had a good weekend. If you didn't, sorry. I hope you guys got outside. We did some swimming. It was amazing. So I wanted to do an update here because I was I got a message earlier today from somebody who is connected to the Duggars, and I don't know why I'm shocked or what I'm not shocked about, but over the weekend, the Duggars hosted a wedding at their house, and I was like, okay, that's weird. But anyways, no mention from the Duggars anywhere, and it's been like wild, right? There has been so much quietness since Josh went into prison. There has been sort of this exodus of the Duggars not posting as much on social media. The normal people that consistently post, Jessa, Jill, Ginger, the boys, they've all taken this break. They could be enjoying the summer. They might be trying to get away from the hate online. I don't know. But I thought this was interesting because it might just give you sort of a heads up into what's going on inside the Duggars world and as they get back into their life post Josh. Last week I told you about how there was a $50,000 tax or judgment lien that was placed on Josh Duggar. And I told you about how they had updated the address for Josh and placed it on a property he did not own. Well, then, I found out through Benton County that the same lien was actually placed on Jim Bob Duggar's house, and Josh Duggar's address is listed as his parents' home. So the lien is for $50,000. It's the judgment that Josh owes to the court for his conviction. And I'm like sitting here going, Jim Bob's going to have a freaking field day if he has a lien on his property. So the lien was placed at their address on Arbor Acres. And I was like, again, flabbergasted that Jim Bob would allow this because he would never want a lien associated with his property. But it also gives us an idea of where Anna lives. So the address listed for Josh Duggar is his parents' home. Imagine being 34 years old and you're living with your parents and you have 7 children. Can you even imagine? I know I can't. The Duggars are going to be having to pay off a lien, or they're going to have to Josh is going to have to take care of that, because I don't know if you guys know about this, but the Duggars believe that you should not have any debt. And so when you have an outstanding debt like that, it's not good for the Duggars. And the fact that it's placed on the address connected to the Duggars, like Jim Bob and Michelle, that means it impacts their property. What a mess. What a mess. Yikes. With a lien now on the property for Jim Bob Duggar, the Duggars are getting back into re-engaging with their friends. So before the trial and, after the conviction, the Duggars sort of like chilled out and they stopped hanging out as much with friends and family. And they stopped doing all of their events frequently. And before all of this came to head, the Duggars would consistently have people over at their house. They had gatherings, people at their house nonstop. It was like a revolving door of visitors. Well, after the conviction and leading up to the sentencing, and even now, they've reduced the amount of friends that they have in their party at their homes. They've become a lot more insular, and so they don't talk to as many people as they used to, which I've heard is a result of just some people pulling back from them and some people wanting nothing to do with them. So the strain of the influence that the Duggars have in their community is not as great as it once was. So just to give you sort of an example, John David Duggar, who was a constable for years going into this current primary season, which happened in the beginning of June. He's been a constable for like almost 7 years, and he lost. So John David will no longer have a role as a constable in Springdale, in Washington County. So the law enforcement position the family held is gone. One of their good friends who held a position as a state senator, Bob Ballinger, who also is Austin Forsyth's father-in-law, lost his primary for the Republican nomination for his seat. So when this goes to the elections in November, Bob Ballinger will be leaving the state Senate at the end of December, whenever the winner of the November election is whoever wins. So he will be replaced after the election in 2022. So they've lost a friend inside the legislative group that had been instrumental in helping to push legislation that was sort of pro the agenda of the Duggars. So if you're wondering if the influence of the IBLP is sort of starting to wane and people are starting to wake up, yes. And there are also politicians that are currently interested in ensuring that the IBLP loses its influence in their communities. I had an opportunity to speak to the Republican candidate, Brian, who is actually the nominee who would replace Bob Ballinger, and his interest was that he wanted to make sure that anyone that was corrupt, anyone that was involved in the IBLP, anyone that was pushing legislation that would help the IBLP, whether it was through real estate scams, whether it's through their construction, through their car lots, through public bribes. You know, Bob Ballinger and Travis Story, who are key associates to the Duggars, have been pretty instrumental in the medical marijuana industry in Arkansas, which is really wild if you think about the IBLP, because they're very against that world and using those types of medication. Brian, who is King, who is actually running for state senate, is really interested with his next upcoming election, if he wins, to start to clean up some of the corruption that's been happening in the state. Now, he is a Republican, so I don't endorse candidates. I just thought it was interesting to hear people that are coming into this world that want to clean out the IBLP out of Arkansas. The Arkansas government and the local government became very infiltrated with the IBLP by the work of Bill Gothard alongside of Mike Huckabee. Now, Mike Huckabee was never a member of the IBLP, but he and Gothard had this relationship where Huckabee helped Gothard with character quality cities. And so Huckabee also was sort of helpful in implementing character quality teachings to children, which is a part of the IBLP curriculum. He also helped them open the Little Rock Training Center, which is now closed. So in the early 2000s with Huckabee and with Jim Bob Duggar, the IBLP bought a ton of property in Arkansas, which they actually still own a lot. And they own a lot in the district that Brian King is running in, which is again why he's interested in cleaning the IBLP out from Arkansas. So locals in the area are starting to get annoyed, fed up, and irritated by the corruption that the IBLP has placed within the local government. So with that being said, not only is the local government annoyed, but friends are also annoyed. So check this out. Over the weekend, the Duggars had a family friend's daughter marry at their church. You know that little church house? It's called Thomas Lake Bible. church. That's what it's called. That little church house that was a school that Jana and her brothers refinished and turned into a church. That church held a ceremony for a friend of the Duggar family. Now, a lot of friends of the family are friends with this family, but not friends with the Duggars. And some have cut ties with the Duggars, but have not cut ties with friends of the Duggars. Does that make sense? So I was told by some people that were invited, and it was more than one person, Duggars. So if you're thinking I have only one source that's telling me info, it's not. But they told me that there was quite a few people that did not attend the wedding because the reception was held at the Duggars. Now, I know the Duggars have done a lot to help their friends, but I've never heard of them holding a wedding reception at their home. And they allowed them to use the church, which is, again, down the street from where the Duggars live, and it's owned by the Duggar family. So it was probably a way for the family to save money, which is helpful. And by the way, the Duggars have like a zillion acres on their property, so it's a large space to hold a party. I've just never seen this before, but it tells me that one, the Duggars are starting to feel more comfortable and getting more acclimated back into their friendship and starting to open up their world. But it tells me another thing is that just because they're ready to acclimate and re-engage in the community doesn't mean some of the people that they've lied to, misled, or sort of bamboozled over the years are ready to re-embrace them. In fact, some people said they were so disappointed that the wedding was held at the Duggars because they really wanted to go, but they just, under their own principles, refused to attend at a home that is done what at a home by a man, Jim Bob and Michelle, who have done what they've done, where they have protected their oldest son and sort of thrown away their daughter. So the Duggars have lost a lot of respect in the community. They've lost a lot of friends. They've lost a lot of clout in the world of politics. John David's career is done. Bob Ballinger's career is done for now. And there's a local politician that wants to clean out all the Duggar affiliated, corrupted people in the government, which is going to take time. So if you're wondering what the Duggars are doing, that's what they're doing currently. And Anna Duggar, meaning that the lien that was slapped on Jim Bob's property, that actually means that Anna Duggar's address is the Duggars' house. So if you're wondering where Anna and the kids are still, they are still living in Arkansas with Jim Bob and Michelle. And Priscilla and David Waller updated a video a couple days ago, and they got a new RV. And so it sounds like Anna's trip down to Texas is over, and she's going back to Arkansas. Now, another thing to note is that her sister and brother-in-law own a piece of property in Big Sandy, Texas, which is like 2 hours away from Josh in Seagaville. And that home, I believe, is empty. And so if she wanted to move to Texas, she could. And if she wanted to move to Big Sandy, she would actually be by the IBLP training center in the Big Sandy, Texas area and the compound down in Texas. So that's an option for Anna. And obviously, I told you last week, I think that Josh Duggar is, I can't even believe this. I can't believe I'm going to tell you this. Josh Duggar is actually doing Bible study and working with the chaplain in his prison, allegedly. All right, so what are your thoughts about the updates? Duggar's losing clout, the $50,000 fine, Josh Duggar's home address, where Anna's taken off, and the getting rid of the corruption of the Duggar IBLP world in Arkansas. What are your thoughts? Tell me in the comments below. Bye, guys.